I think people don't understand how intimately tied suicide is to mental illness, particularly to depressive illness and bipolar illness. I think that there's a tendency to see suicide as a reaction to a bad event in one's life. And you read the papers and you see that somebody had a financial reversal or broke up with somebody or didn't get into graduate school or whatever it is. And that is presented as the explanation. And nowhere is it mentioned what shows up on the psychological autopsy is the person had depression from the time he or she was 13. You know, they used alcohol, they were impulsive, you know, all the things that we know go into suicide. Well, it's partly prevalent because there are relatively few things that kill people that are that young, other than car accidents and suicide. It's also, there's a very interesting relationship between age and suicide and bipolar illness, for example, that under the age of 30, you're just much more likely to kill yourself. A lot of people with bipolar illness who are over the age of 30, unfortunately, kill themselves as well, but you're much more likely. And some of it is the perturbance itself may be a little bit more virulent. People are more impulsive, and they get slightly less impulsive as they get older, and the impulsiveness interacting with the depression is particularly devastating and lethal, potentially lethal. But it's also the case that these often kids who haven't been accurately diagnosed, haven't been medicated properly, aren't in psychotherapy, so or if they are, they've stopped taking their medication because medication noncompliance is more likely to occur earlier on in the illness. So you have all these terrible things that conspire against young people. Well, I think that, I mean, until recently, of course, there was no parity. There was no pretense of insurance coverage or treatment. So, you know, you know, in a way, you could get up and you can talk until the cows come home and you say, these are the symptoms of depression. Get a second opinion. Do all the things, you know, that are... But if people can't afford it, you know, it's meaningless at some fundamental level. And I think, you know, I think actually the current administration is very dedicated to doing something about coverage of mental illness. And I think they're also very aware of how costly it is to society at a human level and an economic level. I think they're very intelligent about that. I think internists and GPs are much more aware of the relationship between depression and cardiovascular disease, for example. So depression is being taken much, much more seriously than it was. You know, for a long period of time, psychiatry as a field didn't have much credibility, and a lot of that was brought on by psychiatry, you know. And now there's so much more science, there's so much more credibility to our understanding of the brain and treatments. So I think things are changing. I mean, at the college level, a lot of the same things. You know, a lot of kids don't have the insurance, or the insurance runs out very quickly. They don't have enough sessions. You know, I spent a lot of time talking to college administrators and students about this, and it's very frustrating. And you know, or they're sent on medical leaves, which really means in many instances don't come back, you know, until you've proven that you're well. I mean, it's a real catch-22. So it's a devastating time, and I think that people just need to be more informed. It's a treatable illness. You have no excuse for not getting treated, and you have no excuse for not putting your wing out and, you know, showing compassion and understanding.